Professional Podcast. My name is Tanida Mullen, and I have a great show for you today. I have someone on here that is really going to give you the 411 on how to step your money game up. Now, listen, I know we've had people this year on the show talking about money, but Dominique Brown is going to give us a different spin. He is an expert in working with millennials in money. He is a financial dream maker who has been helping hundreds of millennials and small businesses overcome their financial roadblocks and to get them to financial freedom. So today, Dominique and myself had some really good conversation, like fly on the wall conversation that I want you to hear about money and the mindset, how to really level up in 2016. So if you're ready to make the big bucks in 2016, or at least make more money, get a raise, just level up, get more money in 2016, this is the episode for you. I want you to listen to this, and I'll catch you on the flip side. All right, so welcome to the show, Dominique. Welcome to the Savvy Unprofessional Podcast.
Hey, how's it going? Thank you for having me, and thank you for inviting a crazy person on your show.
They don't know that yet. We're about to get into that. So tell everybody a little bit about you. I've done a little quick introduction, but I really want you to tell everybody your background so that we know who we're talking to as we lead ourselves into these questions.
Awesome. So I am probably the most honest, most integrity having financial advisor that you ever meet. I literally do everything based off passion and purpose. I started my business around 2009 based off the fact when my mother went through a financial hardship. So I grew up in the inner city of West Philadelphia. My mother shielded me from that environment, sent me to college, got a big house, got a big car, went through a foreclosure and had to go back to living where we grew up in near poverty. So I basically created my business around, if she failed at this, and this is a college educated person who should know better, there's tons of people out there who are not doing so well. So I wanted to offer financial planning at the same rate that you can pay for your cell phone bill or cable. So I provide access to people who need real advice, and I provide real results. I call myself the Kanye West of credit, the credit killer, aka credit repair companies suck. That guy. That's who I am.
Okay, so the thing that stuck out the most to me was the Kanye West of credit.
Yes.
Explain that one.
Well, if you ever look at Kanye, it's like he might look like he's having a bad day on the outside, but on the inside, he's like, I'm Kanye. I can't curse on this podcast, can I? He's like, I'm Kanye West. Like, I still do what the heck I want to do. He's going to produce an album with no music and tell you to feel the music. I guarantee you he's going to do that, and he's going to go diamond.
You know what, Dominic? I really believe that. I actually believe that he could do that, and it will be people out here with a pen. It'll
be art. People they're like, yo, did you hear that new Kanye? You'd be like, no, I didn't. He's like, well, you're not listening.
No, people will be out here buying $50 notepads because that's the notepad that goes with the album, and they will be writing their own lyrics. I can see it. I swear. A DIY album, I could totally see him selling that. Okay, so I want to get into the credit questions because that is really what is interesting to me, especially being on the 30, 29, 30 range. You start to think about those bigger purchases in your life or have already made those biggest purchases. So we'll talk about the credit a little bit later, but what I want to know really is, you're really popular in this area, or not necessarily popular, but very respected. Let's say that, because I don't, popular is here or there, but respected. You have a longevity in this particular area. Why is it that you think now more than ever people are really in tune to their finances, especially millennials?
Well, you gotta understand now. Millennials are a popcorn culture. So I used to write really, really long blogs and stuff like that. Now everyone has access to everything through their phone. So with that being said, you can't ignore the fact that most millennials are coming out with 50, 60, 70, 80, almost $100,000 in student loans. So they are forced to pay attention to their finances. So as a millennial, you're going to have to know about finances. Secondly, due to the recession, a lot of people didn't come out with jobs, right? It's not like back in the day, you graduated high school, go work in a factory. It's not like that anymore. So people are really forced to understand their financial situation. And I probably think this is like the first generation where, okay, you're coming out of a situation with $100,000 in debt. You're probably not going to get a job paying that much. You have to budget. You have to understand that life is going to suck for a little bit, and it forces you to pay attention.
I totally agree with you. One thing I can't ever seem to figure out is why do you think we're missing the mark? I mean, our parents and our grandparents, they had their money together for the most part. And somewhere along the way we really lost it when it came to this particular demographic. And I know, there's the extreme, so there's people who completely have no concept of money, and then there's some people who are completely responsible and doing all the right things. But for the majority of the millennials, at least in that age range, they don't seem to be concerned about credit. They don't seem to be concerned about those bigger purchases, and they're just kind of, more the entrepreneurial and, kind of nomad type of situations going on. Where did we miss the mark? How did we get here?
Um, I don't say we necessarily missed the mark. It's just different, right? So it kind of back in the day, there's no such thing as $100,000 student loan, right? It's kind of like now the high school diploma is like middle school. If you don't have a college degree, it's kind of frowned upon now. So it's one of those things where it's just a different time where it's more so of the norm to just have so much in debt. And then secondly, everything is magnified now. So in the past, there wasn't camera phones to capture every stupid little thing that our parents did. They didn't have a log of Facebook and Twitter and text messages to show how dumb our grandmothers were, right? But we're pretty sure they did some dumb stuff. So now it's just everyone has a megaphone. Everyone's stunting on the jumbotron, so you can just see how wow. It's kind of millennials kind of get a bad rap because everything is under a magnifying glass. So they're just as bad as everyone else, except and then the third thing, they have access to more ways to make mistakes and more quickly. You can order an album with one click. You can order anything on Amazon with one click. You couldn't do that before. You had to go through hoops to do stuff back in the day. So I think it's just a different time, and it's coming off as reckless when you compare it to, oh, my grandfather worked at the same job for 20 years. Well, we don't got that anymore. So it's just different. I just think, it's just a little slightly different.
So, same problems, just different times and different techniques.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just it's just different. That's all I would say. It's just different.
You're right. And everything's different, including how you're able to build wealth, how you're able to, look at your bank account. Just, if you make a purchase right now today, you're able to look and see, wow, I really just spent $50. And you see the negative sign on your app. And
Absolutely. You know what's awesome about that too? Just as quick as you can see that, you can also make money, right? We're on a podcast now.
Mhm.
There's a good chance if this podcast blows up, or you never know, tomorrow someone might call you. You know what? I want to sponsor that. That's a way to make money. So millennials have a quicker way to get into debt, but they also have a quicker way to get out of it too. There's YouTube sensations. It's a global economy now. You can literally be a virtual assistant making $20 to $50 an hour for somebody across the world. So it's more opportunity and definitely more ways to get caught up in things.
Okay, good point. Really good point. So we're going into the new year. Obviously, 2016 is right around the corner, and I know that there's people listening to this podcast that are either thinking about the holidays and how all the money that they're going to spend, or maybe the complete opposite. Maybe they're feeling like, man, I'm sad I'm not able to give as much as I want or spend as much as I like on my family or host a holiday party or whatever it is. So what I really want to get into with our first question is, or not the first question, but what I really want to get into here is how can we right now in, the end of the year, last quarter, how can we really save a financial situation gone wrong and set ourselves up for success for 2016?
What I like to tell my clients or people who worry about the holidays is say, get back to the reason why we actually celebrate holidays. It's about family. It's about being around people we love. It's not about you buying little Johnny or little Jane sneakers or a trinket. They're not going to remember that. So kind of take a step back and say, you know what? Let's celebrate the holiday and just be together. So you can save a lot of money by getting it out your mind that you have to buy love. You do not have to buy. I tell you this, I received a lot of gifts as a child, but the thing I remember the most is putting up the actual Christmas tree and actually putting on the ornaments and then having to take them down. I do not remember not well, I do remember my Rock'em Sock'em robots. I thought they were awesome. But besides for that, I do not remember any gift. So go back to the essence of what holidays mean, right? It's about family. It's about spending time. It's about seeing people we normally possibly do not see. So get back to that and you'll be okay. And any family member or child who thinks different, that just tells you a little bit about them.
Right, exactly. And I think as we get into the phases where we start to get serious about our finances, you really do start to take a double take at the money that you spend, and you're a little bit more cautious and thoughtful about where you put your dollars. And so, one of the questions that kind of came to mind as you were telling a little bit about your story is, you said that you watched a situation in your own household where it was just kind of ebbs and flows, and then the situation wasn't that great. And so how did that affect you to the point of actual change? Like, what was that moment, or what made it click for you to say, you know what, something's got to give?
Well, for me, I was completely oblivious to my environment, to everything because of how my mother raised me, and I asked her when she kind of broke down to me when I was around 26, when she was kind of telling me about her foreclosure and everything like that, and I was like, why didn't you tell me? She was like, well, when you were growing up, that wasn't a child's place, right? So we didn't really talk about money. I played sports, I was exceptional. I went to school, got good grades. I had no clue. I was living in basically a war zone because of how my mother sheltered me. Now, what was the catalyst for me was seeing my mother, my rock, my superhero. Grew up in a single family household. Actually, have to go back to a bad situation, and I couldn't do anything. Right. So imagine your mother comes to you saying, "Listen, we're moving out the house. Getting our wages garnished. We're getting a foreclosure. Going back to live with your grandmother, and you can't help physically nor emotionally." Or financially, right? That was a problem for me. So I did the best thing that I could was I learned as much as I could, and one, make sure that was not going to happen in my family, but two, learned enough so I can actually help my mother improve her financial situation, not just her credit, but her entire financial situation so she can buy a home again. So for me, it was seeing somebody that I loved, that I, looked up to, that I still look up to today, that was responsible for me, go through something in which I could not repay them.
Wow. That is really, really interesting. And the one thing that comes to mind when you were telling your story is, you know, what do you think about people going back and talking to their parents about money? Because I think at this time, when you get a little bit older, I think parents are able to have those conversations because they feel like you know what it means. If you're 18 and it's happening, they can't burden you with that because you don't understand. But like you said, you were 26, 27. What do you think about people going back and asking their parents their money story?
I think they should. It's a scenario where, especially if you're in a household where you don't talk about money. To me, it came a little bit easier because, I was heavily involved in finance at the point because I felt as though it was life or death for me. But I think people should have those conversations. To me, it's no different than how did you and mom and dad meet, right? So once you start kind of learning and it tells you a lot about your parents' mindset, and it lets you know what to do and what to not do. Like a lot of people have no problem talking to their parents about everything else. I think money habits and their philosophy on money is huge. And the more you tend to talk about money, the more you kind of get other people's opinion instead of kind of hiding your thoughts, the easier it is to manage it. So I think people should always talk about money, regardless of how uncomfortable they may feel.
Right. I agree, and I can definitely say from personal experience, there are conversations that I came from a household where my mother was just like, "Look, you need to be independent, and make sure you are, you get your school, get educated, and grab this job, and that you can do this for yourself." And I grew up with both of my parents, but my mother was just extremely it was extremely important for her to, instill the whole independent thing in me. And so I never really looked at why that was so pressing to her until I started to get older. And I started
Mm,
to look and say, why was she always pushing me? Like, I get it. And so I started to ask her questions. And, at this right now, at the point where we are actually having those open conversations about money and their money story as my parents. And it really gave me a lot of insight on some of the things that she used to tell me and why. So I'm with you on that. I really think that that would be something that, especially around this time of year when family is together and they're a little bit more relaxed, I would
mhm.
definitely suggest for somebody to just, sit on the porch or, take your parents out or your mom or dad out to coffee or whoever and just, just inquire, ask, why is it that you told me this or you told me not to do that or we moved in, the middle of the school year with no notice, because I think you'll find some really good stories that will help you kind of make better decisions. So that is a really good idea.
Yeah, so if you can prevent a mistake by asking one question, you probably save yourself tens of thousands of dollars in interest. So if you're or dollars. So if you're nervous about asking, just think of what do you gain by asking it and look at it from that perspective.
Absolutely. Okay, well, I like the idea of going back and looking back a little bit before we move forward. What do you think are some of your or what are some of your really big points in your absolute takeaways, no matter what conversation you get into about money? Like, what can we do as young professionals that is really going to set us up for this next year? Because everybody at this time of year, the number one thing we hear is 2016 is my year. I mean, of course, last year, 2015 was everybody's year, and I haven't
Right.
followed up with everybody to see how it worked out. But I really want to give the audience some things that they can really sink their teeth into, so they can actually make 2016 their year. So I'm going to ask you to give us three things that we can really just take on and really push us to the next level in 2016 financially.
Okay, so a lot of people, I have the three things, but a lot of people assume that it's all money talk. So the first thing I would say is the first one is mindset and the people you surround yourself with. I believe you're the summation of the five people you hang out with the most. So you actually need to do an inventory of who you spend the most time with, who you talk with the most, and figure out, are they able to level me up? Right? Is this someone I can learn from? Is this someone who's going to take me to the next level? Or is this someone who makes me comfortable with my current progress? So, literally, the five people you hang out with the most, figure out who they are. Are they positive? Are they negative? Are they going to school? Do they have intellect? Do they have conversation that stimulates you? Do they debate? Right? So, number one, surround yourself with better people. Not saying you need to cut them off, but you need to be around people who are going to level you up, period. Now, they may not understand this. It's not for them to understand. This is for you. This is for your benefit. The biggest gains I've ever made in my life was when I hung out with people I was nervous to talk to. And you're talking to a very, very, very confident person, but you want to be nervous around these folks because they have accomplished so much. And you just don't want to feel like an idiot. Number two, smart goals. I don't really get into the I'm not an emotional person. I'm a Capricorn, I'm ENTJ. I'm pretty sure you guys don't know what the Myers-Briggs stuff means, but emotion is not on my radar. So I'm a very straightforward guy. So I'm a huge fan of goals. So there was a study done at Harvard, I believe it was like in the 1980s, and it was of the class, and they kind of came back 20 years later, and they asked them, okay, which one of you guys wrote down goals? How many of you guys had goals? How many of you guys uh, wrote them down, and how many of you told them to another person or something like that? And the people who wrote down the goals made 10 to 20 times more than the people who had goals and didn't write them down. Right? So it's one thing to say, oh, this is the new year, I'm going to get together. Write it down, put it somewhere you can see it, put it in a phone, put it in a reminder, because subconsciously, as you see this more often, it becomes not just a thought, it becomes something that you actually want to do and you want to accomplish. So write down your goals. And then the third thing is that you have to invest over save. A lot of people say, "Oh, this year I'm gonna get my money right. I'm going to save." I think you need to be specific. The tailor in the goals thing. Your goals need to be smart, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound. But you also need to focus on investing over saving. Successful people actually take calculated risk. Right. So I don't care how much, if you save $10,000, what did you do with it? Did it just sit in an account? Did you put it towards your future? Did you put it towards actually making you better? Did you put it towards those activities that are going to level you up? Right. So you should have some synergy with your three activities. So get around people who are better, level you up, write down your goals and make them smart. And then the third thing, invest over save. Right. And savings just future spending. I would rather you spend that money on something that's going to get you to the next level, your own business, maybe a Roth IRA, a traditional IRA, but be deliberate with it. Those are my three things.
Be deliberate with it. I want to kind of dig into that last one, invest over save, because well, no, let's go back. Let's talk about the first one. Surround yourself with better people. We had a show not too long ago where we talked about the idea of networking, but I think that everyone's experience with networking is different. So give me an action item. If I want to surround myself with better people, I've done my audit. I see, the people that I'm spending my time around, they're not really on the level I'm trying to be at, but I don't know what the next step is. What do you suggest somebody do?
Great question. So remember that section when we wrote down our goals and what we kind of do, what we want to be, and we're really deliberate. Well, there's people who are killing it in those areas that you kind of want to accomplish, right? So my best thing is, all right, who are these people on social media? What periscopes are they doing? What Twitters are they doing? What's their Instagram? What's their Facebook? Connect with them. Ask them. Be humble. Say, you know what? Can we go out to lunch? Can I call you? Can I Skype you? Can we have a conversation? Be a fan of the person that can level you up, and then they'll be willing to help you get to the next level. Everyone, like, you got to think about it. These people can get you to the next level. Most likely are people around them taking. Find them and actually give, and they'll be more willing to allow you into their circle so you can actually learn some real things to get to the next level. Period. Or you might even have to take an internship or a job at another location because they have the people that can get you to the next level. So I'm a huge fan of just leveraging social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, finding those people, find out what they like, find out how you can help them, and actually help them before asking to take.
Absolutely. That's really sound advice, because I think one of the things that I hear a lot is, I have no idea how to meet someone, and it's just like, well, number one, you have to figure out who you want to meet, and I think that's the thing that I picked up.
But back up, you had to figure out who you want to be, and then you can figure out who you want to meet, right? Because say you want to meet Tony Robbins, and he has what he's doing is not relative to your actual goals. It's going to be a waste of your time.
That's true.
Total waste of your time. You want to be a motivational speaker? Once you figure out who you are, it's easy to align who is doing well in that vein, right? So if you want to be a motivational speaker, Tony Robbins pops up. If you want to be a marathon runner, probably doesn't pop up directly. So it's all who you want to be first.
Absolutely. Did you hear that, guys? That sounds like some kind of tweetable or some kind of frame thing on your wall. Like that, I like that, Dominique. I might have to. I don't know. I might have to steal that and make me some T-shirts. Find out who you want to be, then find out who you want to meet. I like that. I really like that. Don't be mad now if I get my T-shirts popping.
Hey, do your thing.
I'm just kidding.
I appreciate it. Kanye's for the people.
That's hilarious. Okay, so we got that. We're good. We are doing our audit. We're doing our personal audit. We know where we want to be. We're finding out who we want to meet. We talked about writing down your goals. I know that people are really, really good at writing down things and not doing anything with it. What's your system? When you write down your goals, how do you keep them in check, and how do you make sure you're actually meeting them?
I tell other people. Right, so a lot of people internalize their goals, or they might blast it out to Facebook or Twitter, and then it goes away. Accountability partners are amazing, especially if you have children, or if you have a family member who gets on your nerves, or that friend who's always in competition. Tell them that you want to be something. They'll remind you when you're slipping, and you're like, oh shit, I gotta get back on it. Right, so it's a scenario where tell people. Physically tell them, don't Facebook it. Tell somebody, listen, this is what I want to do. I appreciate you if you're my accountability partner. Or When you find like-minded people, once you find out who you are, once you find like-minded people who actually are trying to achieve the same goals, it becomes really easy because then you're seeing this other person progress and you're like, whoa, wait a minute. I'm not moving. So that competition piece kicks in. So I would say tell other people, find other people who want to do the same thing and lean on each other. Honestly, this is why CrossFit is very, very, very popular. It's kind of, if you ever been to a CrossFit gym, it's kind of a whole team thing. It's not everyone walking around with headphones on. They're all trying to do the same thing. So the tribe, the team mindset matters.
I agree with that. I see a lot of people in the same spaces, and they're kind of a tight knit community. And then you see them kind of like one person will say they're doing something, and then the other person will start putting their things out more. And so I do believe that even people who think that they're not competitive, like you have a certain level of competitiveness in you because that's how we live. I mean, that's how we're able to actually evolve. So I think that's a really solid tip, especially with the accountability partner. And if you can't find that, you mentioned just getting with people who are like-minded because they're going to push you either way. All
Hmm.
right, so we got that. This last thing I really want to dig into because you talk about investing over saving. And I know from just talking to people, personal experience, saving is a really big thing for the generation before us. I mean, it was always about saving, saving, saving. Investments were just, I mean, talking about investing was never really on the table. It was just like, get your bank account, save your money. I mean, some people went as far as to put it under their mattress, which I don't, I would never understand that one. But the investing thing is now I see, a lot of younger people really getting into that game and understanding it or trying to. So this particular one might be a little bit, it might need a little bit more explanation. So let's talk about that. I'm a newbie. Let's just say, hypothetically speaking, I'm a newbie. I've got everything together. I'm starting to make some extra cash. I don't know anything about investing because what I was told was open up a bank account and put your money there and let it die. What do I do?
Well, first, let's dissect what the word investing means, right? So, a lot of people naturally think, oh, he's talking about the stock market. Absolutely not, right? Investing can be your own business, it could be in your own education, it could be in a product, it could be in the stock market. So, when I say investing, I'm talking about taking calculated risks that's going to allow you to make money with your money, right? Savings goes to I'm saving for emergency, right? That just sits into a little bank account. Or I'm saving for a down payment for a home or saving for a vacation. These things are already earmarked for spending. I'm talking about setting yourself up so you can actually be wealthy. You don't save yourself to wealth, right? So that's what I mean by investing over savings first and foremost. So where do you start? A lot of people say, "Oh, I want to do real estate. I want to invest in the stock market." I say, "Well, what are you really good at?" Right? Because when you invest, you have to take in consideration opportunity costs. You can put your money into a bank account making less than 1%. You can probably invest into the stock market over long term, making 8% to 10% over 20 years or so. You can start your own business, possibly making 50, 60 to 70%, but it's a little bit more active. So I like to ask people, what are you really good at? And is someone willing to buy that particular service or product? Right. So let's start there first, because if you have something that you can sell to a community that fills a void, that solves a pain, you have a chance of making more money in at least being in something that you love to do. That's why I would say start first. Number two, I love the hierarchy of investing. So if you have a 401k match, you need to take advantage of your 401k match or your 457 match, anything before tax, whatever your company's matching, take advantage of that. Then you can go back and max out your Roth IRA, traditional IRA, depending on your tax bracket. And then you can go back to maxing out the 401k if you want to. Or you can take your money and put it into a business or something that you are good at. But at the end of the day, you need to concentrate and focus on investing your money so you can actually be wealthy and then be free. That's what I mean by that. Taking a shot.
You, my friend, are the first person that I've ever heard really break down the word investment. That is awesome. Because I mean automatically, and I mean I've listened to your periscopes and I've done a little bit of research. So, I understand what you're saying, but most of the time when you hear that word, you automatically think, oh, stock market, I don't know anything about that. Another thing that comes to people's minds is, 2008, and you just get all these things that you've been kind of told on the outside. So I like the idea of looking at it as at investment as something that just doesn't have this one meaning. I mean, you can truly make an investment in anything as long as you're what it sounds like is as long as you're making your money do a little bit of work.
Exactly. And what a lot of people don't realize, I had the most unorthodox investing of all time. I started a financial planning company at a subscription fee basis. No one does that. Right. So this was one of those things where I had an idea and I wanted to, when you live a certain, I'm a huge fan of percentages, 50, 30, 20. That is my plan. You live off 50% of your income and your must haves. You invest 30% of your income, and then you have fun with the other 20%. So I've literally lived my life this way to take a shot doing something. So when you structure your finances properly, you can take a risk and it not hurt you if it doesn't work. So what I wanted to do, I had an idea. I was like, I want to offer financial planning for people who cannot necessarily afford a financial planner because they don't have $1 million to invest, and they're tired of getting scammed by credit repair companies and debt consolidation companies and nickel and dime. That's what I want to do. And it paid off. Huge. There's such a hole. So if you take a step back and say, you know what, I'm not going to sabotage myself. I'm going to work in my passion. I'm actually going to put, when you tell me where you spend your money, that tells me your priorities. A lot of people say, I want to take vacations, I want to be free, but they don't really put dollars towards that. They put their dollars towards stupid stuff. What I'm saying is put your money on you. Invest in yourself. That's what I mean by investing.
That's the best investment.
Exactly. Like imagine this, hey, you're investing in your own ideas. If you're not going to put your own dollars behind yourself, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little bit passionate about it because I have a lot of clients come to me and say, oh, I need to get my stuff together so I can get a loan. Why? You don't even want to put $5 to your own dream. You think a bank going to want to do it? So that's what I mean by investing. Put your dollars where your passion is. Put your dollars where your mouth is. Put your dollars where your thoughts are.
Absolutely. And I think especially when, we roll out this, people are going to listen to this and I think it's really going to make them think about even the purchase that they're making at the moment that they're listening. Because when you start to think like that, everything that you put your money to, you're looking at it a little bit funny because you're like, am I investing in myself right now or am I investing in someone else's dream? So I really, really think that was a unique way of breaking that down. And I think that's all you really need. And you talked about the 50, 30, 20. If you're listening and you didn't catch that, go ahead and rewind it because I already know you're like, what? And I won't make you get into that because I know that there are places that people can find you, and I actually want them to do that. So I will let people know where they can find out about you so they can find a little bit more about the 50, 30, 20 because I'm already thinking about it. I'm like, I'm going to get off this call. I'm going to go look up this 50, 30, 20 thing.
I can break it down really quickly. If
you know
guys,
what? Go ahead.
All right. So I'm a huge fan of when budgeting should be very simple, and the best budget is one that you'll use. So I'm a fan of having 4 categories: income, must-haves, savings/investings, and wants. So when I say 50, 30, 20, I'm telling you that no more than 50% of your income should go to must-haves. So what is a must-have? A must-have is something that you must pay for regardless of having income or not. We all know these things, right? If you lost your job today, what do you still have to pay for? Rent, utilities, gas, car notes, minimum debt payments, right? These are things called must-haves. The reason why I want to limit them to 50% because a lot of people don't realize is that you don't want to have 90% of your money going out the door as soon as you get your check because that doesn't allow you to invest in yourself. That doesn't allow you to be happy, right? It's very hard to be comfortable when you know for a fact that 90% of your money is going out the door. Savings and investing, I believe that people should be putting 30% of their take-home pay. So everything is take-home pay, not gross. Take-home pay towards their dreams and their goals in investing. And then the last 20% is it's just like fitness, right? You can't eat healthy for 365 days. You need to have cheat meals. And this is where the wants and the fun money comes into play. Like a lot of people do not realize that, even with my 50, 30, 20 plan, I'm able to travel anywhere that I want to travel. I'm able to drive any car that I wanted to drive because when you have a proper system in place, you really don't, you're fine. You really don't care. So that's the 50-30-20. 50% goes to must haves, no more than that. 30% goes to savings or investing. And the last 20% goes to wants. And you will be amazed that once you realize if ish does hit the fan, you have a huge emergency fund. You can easily bounce back, and possibly your investments are covering a third or half of your income anyway by the time you get 10 years into this mode. So it's about defense.
Wow, that is good. You hear that, people? That was a little bonus. I didn't even plan on that. We didn't even plan on that. 50-30-20. All right. Well, we're coming to the end of our interview here. And what I really like to do, number one, is one of my biggest questions that I like to ask people is, if you knew back then, and back then could be 5 years from now or 10 years ago, 5 years ago, what you know right now, what would you have done different, or what would you have told your younger self?
I would have told my younger self, and I like to tell everyone this: start your business now, right? A lot of people do not realize that you went to 12 years of grade school, 4 years to get a bachelor's degree, and possibly some more years if you went to, an advanced degree. And that's a long time for you to get your life together, right? And then you went through 4 years at a crappy job and 2 more years. So you spent 16 to 20 years just getting to a mid-level. It's the same thing in business. So a lot of people think that, all right, I'm investing 30%. It's going to be blowing up as soon as I start. No, you still got probably 10 years of hustle. But imagine if you started that hustle at 18, at 28, you're killing it. Right. So you can prevent a lot of mistakes early on. And then I definitely want to tell myself to start earlier, because the moment I offered my service is when my life changed. Right. So I kick myself like, oh, my God, if you started 2 years earlier, your revenues would be at this point now. You're an idiot. So hindsight is 2020. Start a business now, period, because you got to think about it. Right. In 20 years from now, all those jobs that we thought exist, a computer's going to be doing them. You need something. You're going to need something. So start your business now. Take your shot early, before you get bogged down with responsibilities and stuff like that.
Boom. That simple. And I think that's a really good thing to go into, or a good mindset to go into 2016 with, just the why not now, start now kind of mentality. And I think not only in business, whatever it is you do, start investing now. It's 20, at the end of 2016, you want to look back and say, I actually achieved some of my financial goals, because I know that's just one of the biggest things that people kind of regret. When they get into this age category, because it starts getting a little bit tougher if you didn't make those decisions. So it's not too late. I appreciate all of the golden nuggets in this interview, especially the 50-30-20. That one right there, I think, is a rewindable moment. And if you're listening to this podcast, I hope that you do. So, where can everybody find you? I know after this, people are going to be wanting to know, how do I get more? So, where do we find you?
So since I'm crazy, pretty much the entire internet has my cell phone number, and every single last of one of my clients have them. So I would say Instagram definitely is my most. Instagram, Your Finances Simple. Your Finances Simplified is my most active platform. I post often and to get engaged with a lot. But you can also just text me, 703-298-3803. I will respond to you, as I do everybody. And I only sleep about 4 hours a day. So you're cool at texting me anytime. And I will block you if you're trying to be disrespectful. But just text me, 703-298-3803, or catch me on Instagram.
Wow, that's access, guys. You want more, you want him to help you, or you need a little bit more information. You don't even gotta go the social media route. You can actually text Dominique. I want to thank you for coming on the show. It was my pleasure, and I think this is really going to help somebody pretty soon.
Awesome. I would say, for 2016, living your purpose, man. Put your money where your purpose is. And at the end of the day, if you achieve your purpose and you achieve your goals, you're pretty much going to be a very, very happy person. So you might as well just give that a shot.
Best advice I've heard so far. Thank you, Dominique, for joining us. We will make sure to put all of this information in the show notes for people to hear so that they can contact you and get more information. This show was action-packed. Didn't I tell you that? I thought I told you in the beginning that Dominique was not going to hold back, that he was going to give us the 100% real version of what we need to hear. And sometimes you need to hear the uncut, the non-sugar-coated version of the truth when it comes to your career, your business, and your money especially. I hope that you learned something from this show. If you're listening to this on your Apple device, you can click the cover art and find all of the show notes, all of the different links that we talked about. If you don't have an Apple device and you are listening to this maybe on an Android device, you can find the show notes on the Stitcher app if you're listening to it through Stitcher, or you can just go to thesavvyyoungprofessional.com and find the show notes. I want to thank you all for listening to me this year, listening to the conversations that I've had with people. And I have to tell you, it means so much to get your emails and to get your tweets and your Facebook messages letting me know that this is helping you. And I love the idea that every episode is just one more notch to helping you become a better professional. 2016 is bringing big things. I'm kicking off 2016 with a live event. I want to bring these conversations to you. I want us to have these conversations in person. And so January 9th, 2016 will be the very first live event. If you want to know more about that, you can check out thesavvyYP.com where you can find more information on the events that we have planned for 2016. I have one more episode for you guys for the year, so make sure you tune in next week to the show. And until then, you know what I'm going to say. Keep it savvy, YPs.